Hi, I'm Juan, and this is video number 3 of the Music 114A class. And in today's lesson, I'll be covering the bow. We'll finally talk about how to hold the bow, a good bow grip, and so forth. I'll talk about how to stand, have a good correct standing posture. We'll play through the 2-octave A major scale and arpeggio using the bow. And we'll end it off by playing Twinkle Twinkle, Little Star, again using the bow. I'll be covering these sections into various videos in order to facilitate, moving and setting up and so forth. So there'll be about 2 or 3 videos that I'll post up. But let's get started. So here's the bow. One thing I want to mention before we start holding the bow is the tension on the bow itself. So generally, when you're not playing, when you're putting your instrument away, you want to loosen the bow so that you don't have any tension on it, or else if you keep the same tension on, just put it away, it'll slowly start to warp it, and you don't want that. So always make sure to loosen up the tension before putting it away. Again, when you're taking it out of the case and when you want to play, to tighten up the tension, you don't want to either have it too tight nor too loose, or else you won't have a good tone. And if you have it too tight, you're going to also again warp the bow, so you don't want that. So a good rule of thumb is you want to have it about the thickness of your pinky, like that. You want to have it to be around there, right? That's a good way. You don't ever want to have it a little bit above or before or something around there, but try to keep it within that range. So now that we covered that, let's move on to the bow itself. So first thing you want to do is hold the bow with your left hand like that, right? Try to let none of the weight go on this for right now. So you have it like this. A little bit of terminology before we start. This is what's called the frog. Right, this is a little nut, I guess, where you screw and unscrew the tension for the bow. Here's the bow hair. These are made of horse hair. For those of you who don't know, it's just a little padding to help you feel more comfortable. And so what you want to do is now, here's your hand, you want to put your thumb in between the frog and this padding. So your thumb's going to go right in there. If you see that little gap there, that's where you want to have it. And then what else you want to do is, if you see this circle there, your ring finger is actually going to have to cover that or around there. And then again, the middle finger will follow it. So now you've got that, right? Thumb goes in between the frog and the padding. Your ring finger covers that circle there, and then your middle finger follows it. The next thing you want to do is, with your index finger, you want to lean it against that padding like that, right? So right here, you want to lean it against there, right? And then, so what do we do about the pinky? You can't just have it like that, up in the air, like if you were grabbing a teacup or something like that. Nor do you want to have it in there or outside. You actually want to have it at the tip there, towards the end of the bow itself, like that. And if you notice, the result is sort of a curve, a little angle there. And again, you want to have your wrist relaxed. You want to be able to do this, right? You want to be relaxed enough to be able to play well. If you notice, it's really relaxed, right? I can move it easily. No effort at all to move it, right? No tension, no like this. There's no grip of death, as some people refer it to. So you want to have a good relaxed kind of little grip there. And a quick exercise you can do is you can just hold it again with your left hand, and while keeping that same grip there, you want to move it up and down this bow, sort of mimicking how you would play it as if you were here and then playing it on the violin itself. So take a few moments just to go like that. Again, try to relax as possible. Wrist relax. If you notice, I can easily glide from one end to the other without any effort. And if you notice, when I go back, poof, I've got that same bow grip. That's what you want to keep. Like that. So that's another good way. Another good thing to do is when you're away from your bow, when you're away from the instrument, you can use a pencil. And again, you can just practice the bow grip with the pencil. Now, a good way to help you memorize the proper way to hold the bow is pretend that the middle finger and the ring finger are fishermen, right? They're here. He's sitting at the edge of a lake, right? He's got his line, which is his index finger. He cast his line there, right? Here's his little pet dog accompanying him, so not keep him lonely, helping him keep him lonely. And then the thumb is actually the fish, right? So your job is to catch the fish. And there you go. You can just practice this whenever you have time, or when you don't have anything if you want to practice on. So that's another good way to use a pencil. So let's go back to the bow. Again, I'll hold it with my left hand, and then again here's my fish. Here's the fisherman, or me, right? I'm the fisherman, and then here's my line. I'm casting my line, and then here's my little dog. So before we even get to the playing it on the violin, there's a few things I want to know. So, as a beginner, again, try to keep relaxed. Again, shoulders relaxed, back straight, feet flat on the ground. Pretend I'm holding the violin like that again, right? Usually beginners tend to go this way, like that, right? They just actually pivot their whole arm that way. In order to be able to have a nice straight bow, you actually want to keep it in place like that, if you notice. And you hardly move it, so let me demonstrate. So moving it down like that, if you notice. I'm hardly doing this, but merely just moving actually my forearm, my wrist. It's got to be relaxed to do it, right? You can have one of the reasons I might account for this also is for the tension. You're putting unnecessary tension on your arm and your wrist, which locks it in place. You want to have a nice fluid motion like that. Obviously, when you get close to the violin, if you notice, I sort of move my arm closer to me like that. But once I go back down, it stays. So you can think when you hear it as a little square to kind of help you. Here's the violin, here's a little square. And I'll demonstrate this more when we have the violin. So this is a good way to have it. And then up, that's when you want to curve it. So anything past the square, you want to go down. So when you're down here, right, getting up, that's the good form. Then once you pass this, now you're going to want to move your arm up like that. And then once you go back down, when you got the square, then you can keep it. You don't have to move this. So that's a good rule of thumb to work on. So the correct posture, and then we'll go on to video 2. But thank you for watching.